Welcome. You have reached review time with Imperial. Let's get into it. Today's review would be Reign of the Supermen. And I was debating whether I was going to review this or not. I figured, why not? I watched it. So the Reign of the Superman, the animated movie, is basically spinning off of the end of Batman versus Superman, where Batman died. Where Superman died, and it picks up also from the Justice League. So the Justice League is in effect. Superman has passed, and basically from the movie you get to see some of the things into this animated series. So I guess it's all coming from the comic. So what has happened after Superman's death? Um, the world is kind of in mourning that he still passed, and they can't, imagine him being dead, just like on Justice League. And there have been recent Superman imposters doing little heroic acts to, in the name of Superman, to keep it going. So there were about three of them, and then you meet a fourth. But you had Superboy, and he was a clone made by Lex Luthor. Then you had Cyborg Superman, that you learn is really a villain that's out in space by the name of Darkseid. That you learn that this Cyborg Superman is being controlled really by Darkseid, and the Cyborg Superman is pretty much learning, getting the trust of the people on Earth, and then only to allow Darkseid to infiltrate and take over. And then there was a Steel Superman. It really, the Steel was actually a superhero character, but he was dressed up as Superman. So they had a lot of familiar people, actors and actresses that were playing these roles that were interesting, that I came across, that I seen, like Tony Todd. He played the voice of Darkseid. You had and if you don't know who Tony Todd is, he plays the famous scary movie Candyman. Shamara Moore, he played one of the Superman Cyborg. Rosario Dawson, she played as Wonder Woman. Cress Williams, he played as Steel, and Cress Williams has his own superhero movie on the WB station Black Lightning, if you're into that. Jerry O'Neill, he played Superman on the movie. So basically, all the superheroes that were playing as Superman, they end up colliding, battling with each other, trying to save the city. Meanwhile, Darkseid is infiltrating, and it flashes and shows you that Superman is not really dead. He's really somewhere, and that area where Superman has all his history and the crystals and all that. He's really there, being protected, and he's rejuvenating, going through like a rejuvenating stage, because he took a real beating when he fought Doomsday. So while he's rejuvenating, all this is going on. The Cyborg Superman is pretty much infiltrating the city, telling everybody that he can make them superheroes, and really he starts turning some innocent people into where they're dark side, like their followers of dark side and taking over their bodies and stuff like that, really building dark side's army. And he's supposed to open a portal where it lets dark side come into Earth. Meanwhile, the Justice League, they were all trying to help, and then they ended up in another world. So they wasn't really a factor in this movie. They did get to come back later in the movie and fight, but it really was about just the Superman and going through everything. And Lois Lane, she and Wonder Woman had a little friction because it's always been some type of chemistry thing going on with Wonder Woman and Superman, and so they end up being cool. And then you had where Superboy, this Steel character, went and tracked, the Steel Superman character went and tracked where the crystals was, and when he went to go find and see that Superman was actually alive, there was another cyborg Superman thing there that was there. He was just there just to protect Superman so that he could rejuvenate. And so he really tried to fight the Steel guy, and then Superman broke out of his rejuvenation, and then he got to see that he was still alive. And Superboy seen that because he followed him, and he seen that Superman was still alive, and Superboy was cloned with Superman's genetics along with Lex Luthor genetics. So he partially Superman and Lex Luthor, and so Superman pretty much is like his rejuvenation wasn't complete, so he wasn't fully strong. Now we all know that Superman gets strength from the sun. Meanwhile, the world is going in chaos because Darkseid's trying to take over. But why wouldn't you go to the sun first and rejuvenate and get your healing before you get into a fight? So nevertheless, the cyborg Superman, he fully turned, and he went bad, and he went rogue, and he was really trying to take over. Lois Lane and him got into it. Superman pops up. Superman doesn't have his full powers. They were fighting back and forth, went into space, fighting back and forth, and then they went through their trials and tribulations with the fight. Lois Lane, she's got a gun. They're on the plane, and then she realized that they went somewhere near her son, so she sacrificed like her livelihood to get the son into the spaceship so Superman can get his full power. Then he came and got his full power and beat the cyborg Superman up. Meanwhile, they stopped Darkseid from coming in, and then Superman basically returned full strength. That was pretty much the movie. I guess the comic had already came out about a year or so ago. I remember reading it. They finally did the movie. And so between Batman, the end of Batman versus Superman, the movie, then the beginning of Justice League, you kind of like, I guess the twist was you got to see the reign of Superman, the animated part of it. You know, I guess it was an okay movie. It was an hour and a half. Was it worthy? I mean, if you're a comic person, you probably read the comic and you've seen those movies, so you was like, you could care less about seeing the animated. If you never knew nothing about it and you seen it, then you probably thought it was cool too. So what I'm going to do, out of the 4-star rating system, I give this movie, animated movie, 2.5 out of 4 stars. Just because it's Superman. If it wasn't Superman, it'd probably be 2 stars. But just because it's Superman, I give it a 2.5 out of 4 stars. Subscribe and like, share the video. Till the next time.